What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to Celio's Network. Today we're looking at the results of the 2022 Liverpool Regional Championships. There were 373 Masters in this event, and as you probably know by now, Robin Schultz of Team Limitless won the event undefeated with a 12-0-5 record, piloting a Rapid Strike Urshifu Inteleon Galarian Moltres toolbox-style build. That I already covered on the channel, so check that video out if you haven't already. But today we're going to be looking at 7 of the top 8 lists because the 7th place list is still not public. And we'll go down to top 16 to make up for that 7th place missing as well. So we're going to be looking at these lists today and talking about the results a bit. We also have the full day 2 standings, and I've put them into a spreadsheet just to organize them by archetype as well. So we'll look at all of that today. But before we do that, shout out to PotonStore.com, the best place to get PTCGO codes. And be sure to use code CELIO for 5% off, and also use code CELIO for 5% off at cardtroopergames.com. Doing both of those things helps support my channel directly. Also, you can find my lists at PokemonCard.io and share your own and view other community members' lists. PokemonCard.io is doing a really cool thing where the most popular decks from each day are winning PTCGO codes, and random decks that were uploaded win PTCGO codes. So just being involved in the PokemonCard.io website community, you can win yourself some PTCGO codes. So that's pretty cool. And also check out Beast Coast Pokemon. Today we uploaded a conquest match between myself and reigning world champion Henry Brand, so you don't want to miss that one. And be sure to subscribe to this channel as well for daily Pokemon TCG content. To put that out of the way, let's get into the good stuff here. So let's look at the day 2 standings going into day 2. Joe Bernard of Omnipoke, the channel that brings you guys everything Pokemon, went into day 2 with a 9-0 record with Malamar, Rapid Strike Malamar. And slightly behind him was Fairs Secum with straight Arceus Inteleon deck. And we can look at the day 2 metagame here in order. So there were, let's see, 15 Mew VMAXs, and there were 15 Arceus variants. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 of them were confirmed to be Inteleon builds, and I think 1, 2, 3, 4. All of these were also Inteleon builds. We have some Sandaconda VMAX with Beedrill, Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX with Beedrill, Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX again down here. So a few people playing Rapid Strike Urshifu in Arceus builds, but Robin was the only one to play a Rapid Strike Urshifu kind of focused deck, even though his deck wasn't necessarily a focused Rapid Strike Urshifu build the way we've seen it before. Something really cool that I'll be covering on the channel in its own video is the Hariyama deck, the single strike Hariyama that has a built-in coin flip focus sash. That's really cool. I definitely want to explore that one. Only one Gengar deck in day 2. One Suicune Ludicolo deck in day 2. So the first place list actually was not copied and brought into day 2 at all. From SLC, the Arceus Gengar, 0 Arceus Gengars in day 2, 1 single strike Gengar in day 2, and then just 1 Suicune Ludicolo. Suicune Ludicolo is a hard deck to play. I didn't expect many successful copycats. And then Sander Wojcik with the Zorak Control, which was in top 8, so we'll look at that as well today. You can find all this information at ptcgstats.com, and limitlesstcg.com will probably be updating their stuff as well, but they were all competing. Robin Schultz, who runs the website, got first, so they're probably going to be just a little late on that over there. So let's start out with first place list. We have Robin Schultz. All these notes on Pokestats will typically just take you to the player's Twitter post or Facebook post. So as you can see, what I'm saying is this isn't a fully focused Rapid Strike Urshifu deck. In the way that it only has a 2/2 Urshifu. It's really just like it's like a Drizzile line, a Talion Drizzile line, and then just toss in whatever tools you need for the metagame. The supporter lineup is very, very strange, with the Sonya, Cynthia's Ambition, Zinnia, Birdkeeper, Cheryl, Clara Boss, Raihan, Peonia, 9 one-off supporters, and of course a pal pad that goes along with that. So a very interesting supporter lineup. Some of these supporters feel optimal. Cheryl feels great in the deck. Clara, of course, works because of the Moltres. Birdkeeper works because of Gale Thrust. You need to switch for that, and you also need to switch for Hoopa. But then some of the other cards like Zinnia's and Cynthia's Ambition make me wonder if these cards would not be more optimal as Marnie and Research. But they do give you different ways to play the game and draw cards and build your hand. And I think that's what they were going for with this deck. But still, it makes me wonder, could a Marnie or Judge and possibly a Research be better over any of these cards? Because playing the deck, there were like turn ones and turn twos where I would like a Research, and sometimes when I would like to disrupt my opponent. But um obviously this was good enough for Robin to pilot to a 12-0-5 record, beating a plethora of different decks. So definitely big congrats to him, and I just wanted to provide some of my own thoughts on the list. Here we have the second place Malamar list from Brennan Kammerman. Said that they played the same exact list that Gabe Shumway got top 16 in SLC with. So if you've already seen that from last weekend in either my videos or other people's videos, it's the same exact list. The Drizzile and Teleon version of Malamar, which has pretty much been decided by the community to be the optimal way to play Rapid Strike Malamar at this point. You'll notice no Manaphy in the deck. Manaphy really sucks to have in the deck. You only are happy that you have it when you're playing against a bench damage deck, and then it really hurts to have a non-Rapid Strike card in every other matchup. So I think it was correct for this event to not play the Manaphy, but going forward, if people are thinking Rapid Strike Urshifu is getting some hype, maybe you start playing the Manaphy, or maybe you don't, and you just take that possible L. Here's the third place Mew VMAX, the highest placing Mew VMAX. Of course, Salt Lake City did not have any Mew VMAX in the top 8, but Liverpool over in Europe had 2 Mew VMAXs in the top 8. Here we have the full special energy build with the echoing horn. Is this different? This is a little different than Natalie's, because we see it has 3 stadiums, whereas Natalie's had 2, and it looks like they just cut the 4th Cremomatic for the 3rd stadium. Here we have Alessandro's Arceus Inteleon with a Crobat VMAX. So this is pretty much just straight Arceus, and then has a little bit of a dark package added in. Also the capture energies for the additional early turn consistency. I like that. And then you've got the Judge in there, as well as the Marnie. No Sydney in this build, opting to not go with the Sydney because they are trying to just OHKO the Mew VMAXs that the opponents have with Moltres and with Crobat VMAX. Crobat VMAX is cool. It's something I've been considering in my Arceus Dark builds that already play Crobat, because it's like a free extra attacker, and your opponent's not going to chase the Crobat if you have like, you know, an Arceus V-Star they can knock out, or if you have a Galarian Moltres on the bench, or a Ditto on the bench, or a Hoopa V on the bench. The Crobat V is typically not very valuable for them to chase, and especially in a closed deck list environment where a lot of your opponents aren't going to know the Crobat VMAX is there. Maybe they hear about it by day 2, but Crobat V is not necessarily a popular target to chase if you have a full health Arceus V-Star in the active that they would rather knock out. So I like the Crobat VMAX a lot. Does 180 for 3 energy, which is always going to be knocking out Mew VMAXs, and with a Choice Belt, it can also knock out Genesects. Then we have Sanders Zorak Control Toolbox deck. Now, I was expecting this to look different. I was expecting a thicker Zorak line. I was not expecting that many Snorlaxes. I don't think this deck, now hear me out, I am not Sander. I am not a controlled deck building wizard, but I don't think this deck moves forward as the premier control list. I think it was good enough for this event because Sander is a very talented Pokemon TCG player and a very, very talented deck builder as well. So he got to top 8 with it. And there are things that I love about the deck, and then other things that just feels a little off. The thinner Zoroark line and the thicker Snorlax line felt a little off to me. But the things that really stick out is that the pot helmet on Altaria means that Aqua Bullet from Inteleon doesn't knock it out, and so you can just continuously loop Charon's Carrier Altaria, send out Eldegoss, re-evolve the Altaria onto another Swablu, or discard it and Zoroark transform into it, and then use Eldegoss's attack to do 50, actually 30 after double turbo energy, shuffle itself back in, and then next turn you can just play down the Eldegoss again for Charon and loop that way to beat anything that's trying to use Aqua Bullet as an attacker to get their Altaria. I like Altaria because I realized last week, like, because for a while, things like Altaria weren't that good because everything had things that could get through it. But not every deck has something to get through Altaria, and the decks that do are trying to get through with Inteleons, and you could just loop with Charon's Care plus Eldegoss against Inteleons. So I really like that, and then I really like the Dusknoir. It does suck that if the Zoroark's already been in play for a turn and it transforms into Dusclops, you can't directly evolve it into Dusknoir, but Dusknoir allows you to essentially checkmate a Mew VMAX because it makes all of their energy only provide one colorless, so even double turbo energy is not providing two colorless for them anymore. And then you also have Ribombee to move the energies off of the Pokemon and onto other Pokemon and spread them out, or Eviltal to just straight up discard the energies. You also have the Gorobus that blocks Rapid Strike abilities, so that in the situation where they're trying to win with Aqua Bullet, they can't combine that with Quick Shooting to do enough damage through the pot helmet to win. So there are a lot of great things in this deck, a lot of options, but I do feel like this deck will change moving forward if Sander or someone else were to play Control again, just because once all of the tools are kind of known, I feel like decks can either adjust or players' strategies can adjust to beat it now that the deck is kind of out there. But still a great performance, a really, really thought-provoking deck, an interesting deck. My takeaways from it are I think the Altaria, the Dusknoir, and the Ribombee are definitely really, really great. The Pukumuku confused me a little bit. It feels like kind of like it just making the deck like a 59 deck, and you can get through to things that you need a little faster, which aren't always things that you see in control decks. But you know, it allows you to get to some of your combo pieces a little earlier, maybe. So there is Sanders' control list. Moving on, we have Joe Bernard's Malamar that he went 9-0 with, and he actually had already posted the deck on YouTube 2 days before the event, which he posted the screenshot of here. So that was really, really funny and good for him that he posted the deck 2 days early and then still played the same thing. Didn't care, went 9-0, made top 8 with it. Looking at that Inteleon build of Malamar, again, as I mentioned, that seems to be what the players like. We do not have 7th place's Arceus Bibarel Galarian Birds list yet, unfortunately. And then we have another Mew VMAX at 8th place, piloted by David. With the Tower of Darkness, the 4 Tower of Darkness build, which is just not what I personally enjoy. But, you know, it got them there. So that's all I have to say about that. Moving on, we won't look at the rest of the Mew VMAX lists in top 16, but I will say shout out to Tomeo, Ross, and Logan, who all placed in the top 16 with Mew VMAXs. And then we'll just take a look at the other lists in top 16 that we do have the lists for. Let's see. So this Malamar was also in Teleon, but it's playing the Skiploom Turffield Stadium combination, as well as Stefan was playing that, and we'll go ahead and click on Stefan here. So the Skiploom Turffield combo is because you can play down that stadium and then draw your full hand with Corinna or with Cynthia's Ambition. And then after you draw those cards, you can then search out an additional Rapid Strike card. The Skiploom with Turffield Stadium, and Skiploom is also not at risk of being a starter since it's an evolved Pokemon. You can also Level Ball and Evolution Incense for the Skiploom. It's searchable by 3 different ways. It's also searchable by Rapid Strike Search, so 4 different ways just to get you a little bit of extra damage on the decks that you have to reach for that extra damage against. Stefan does say in the Twitter here that um, it matters most against decks like Duraludon or maybe even like VMAX decks that are popularly running Big Charm like Gengar, things like that. So he said it wasn't too necessary this weekend for him. Then we've got top 16 Connor with Arceus V-Star Ice Rider. This was a variant very hyped up at the beginning of Brilliant Stars and then kind of fell off, but we see here a player was able to place in top 16 with it. With the Bibarel variant, which was definitely the variant I ended on in my testing of Arceus Ice Rider because the Inteleon line took up too much space for the deck. I really like this list. It has pretty much everything you need and then a little extra. Like, you don't need the Dunsparce. I think if you're going 3 Path to the Peak, the Pumpkaboo's good. The 2-2 Bibarel line is fine. That's a solid draw support in addition to your Crobat Lumineon and your Starbirth. And then the Leon plus Choice Belt allows Ice Rider to hit 310, which of course means you can knock out a Mew VMAX with that. And the last one we'll look at in top 16 is going to be Steven's Arceus Galarian Bird Box deck. This looks like it was pretty much okay, so they shouted out Peter Lowe, which is the person whose list Ian and Nick based their list off of. So they're keeping the Hoopa and then also a free retreater option, which I do like the free retreater option. Nick and Ian felt that the Hoopa wasn't necessary for Salt Lake City. They're also playing the toughness cape here. So similar to Ian and Nick's list, and if you wanted a different idea, different player's perspective on that kind of list, here you go. Top 16 from Liverpool with the same archetype, but a different list. So those are the top 16 lists and results that we have access to at this time from the Liverpool regionals. Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX was the poster card of the deck that ended up winning, and I definitely think this was a card on everybody's mind, or even just fighting plus dark was something on everybody's mind. You could do it with Rapid Strike and Big Moltres or Little Moltres. You could do it with Zapdos and Moltres, Galarian Surfetched. You could do it with the Hariyama plus other Single Strike Pokemon, Single Strike Urshifu Umbreon, Gengar plus Stonejourner. A lot of combinations to do it with. This was the winning one. It looks like a list that gave Robin control over his games for the most part. And I'm really happy he was able to get that 504 awkward record to make it into day 2 to then eventually end up winning the whole event, because the list is really cool and it might not have gotten the spotlight if he hadn't made it into day 2 and then eventually gotten the win with it. So yeah, those are my thoughts, and those are also the results from 2022 Liverpool Regionals in the Masters Division. If you have any questions or comments, let me know down below. Be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Check out my sponsors and other links in the description, and also join the Discord. I think we're around 1,000 members now, so that's really sick. I'll see you next time here on Celio's Network.